Welcome to an episode of Vaguely Familiar Presents Backward Point.
Boom.
I am your host, Bashaar, and with me, as always, is my co-host,
Nazar Sayed.
And this episode, it's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to get you to sit with me and discuss this topic that we're going to be diving into today. And that is Virat Kohli, his career, and his recent performances and what he has in store for the future.
Yeah, so this is one thing. This is one of those topics that we talked off camera a lot about. Like, what's up with Virat, man? Like, he's not really himself, kind of. His scores aren't there the way they used to be a few years ago. His captaincy isn't up to the mark. He's not winning any tournaments. He's not winning any, big things for India. Maybe his personal records are a little bit better. But apart from that, since the pandemic started, it's been like pandemic K, bro. Pandemic
Bottom
K.
line is, it's been 2 years since Virat Kohli scored his last international century.
Tell me about that.
It's been 2 years.
That's insane.
Which is insane.
And that's like what, I don't know what it is, man. Like, because it's like he's one of those players that consistently churns out runs. He's called a run machine. And then suddenly this drought of centuries. If it was any other player, we wouldn't probably give two rats about it.
Yeah.
But this is Virat Kohli.
He's one of the greats of our generation.
Of all time. You can say that.
Looking back, if I look at like my lifetime and the batsmen that I've seen play, he's up there with Ricky Ponting, with Sachin, with Brian Lara, with Inzamam.
Yeah, definitely.
He's just one of the greatest that we've ever seen. Run machine, the chaser, as we say. And yet we've seen a dip in his performances in the last 2 years.
Since the pandemic started.
So I'm going to talk about that, but I wanted to build up towards that.
Yeah, for sure.
Because obviously, we're true cricket fans. We admire Virat Kohli as a player, as an ambassador of the game. He's the most followed cricket sports person on Instagram.
Yeah.
So obviously, there's a lot of weightage to this podcast and Virat as a human being as well.
You said before we started this podcast off air, you said that some of the stats that I'm going to tell you, you're going to freak out.
You are going to freak out. And
so like you've done your homework, because I in front of me, ladies and gentlemen, is a 4-page Google Doc, and it's just numbers and stats and everything that you've compiled. So I'm ready to dive in. I want to know what all of this is about, because this is, frankly, for the game of cricket, it's a little bit scary for me. It's like LeBron not being LeBron, and then basketball dips.
It's like Curry not being able to shoot threes anymore.
Yeah, it's literally like that. And it feels like it's like Spider-Man 2, where Peter doesn't have his powers anymore. He can't score centuries anymore.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What happens?
So, I mean, before we get into that, I wanted to like build up. So if you look at Virat's overall career, right?
Yeah.
And his career spanning of 13 years, he's played 446 matches for India. He scored 23,197 runs at an average of 54.96. 70 centuries and 118 50s.
This is compiled 70 in all.
This is 70 in all formats.
Yeah.
That was his all formats runs. His records in all formats, he's the 7th most run getter in all of international cricket. He has the 3rd most centuries in international cricket, only behind Sachin, who has 100, and Ricky Ponting, who has 71.
So he's very close to that 71 mark, because he is.
Already. I mean, if 2 years ago, if anybody would ask me who is somebody who can break Sachin's record of 100 hundreds, it would have been Kohli. But because of this last 2 years where he's had a drought of centuries, I'm starting to doubt if that's ever going to be possible now.
Really? So like, how old is he right now?
He's 33.
Let's say he has 4 more years of cricket left in him. A batsman can play longer than a bowler can, right?
Right. I know he might have 4, maybe 5 years, but I really feel like Virat is going to retire earlier.
To maintain his legacy?
He's always said that he's going to leave the game when he's just not enjoying it anymore.
Yeah.
And with the recent events that have transpired, which we will get into,
yes,
we might even see an early retirement. Who knows? Maybe after the next 50 over World Cup.
All right. You're talking like 2023. That's like in a couple of years.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, so looking forward at his ODI stats, I think he's the greatest ODI player to have ever played the game. I said
Agreed.
that.
Hands
That's my
down.
opinion.
Yep.
It's a fact. I can back it up. He has the 6th most runs in a career. He has over 12,000 runs. He has the 3rd highest batting average, career batting average in ODIs, 59.07. He has the 2nd most hundreds in a career, 43. Only behind Sachin, who has 49. And here's the most important fact. Out of those 43 centuries, India has won 35 times. That's an 81.4% win percentage. Every time he scores 100, India has an 81% chance of winning the match.
Yeah.
Here's the most important stat. Virat Kohli, we call him the chasing king. He's the king of chases.
Yeah.
He has 2,600s while chasing, which is the most by any player. Second is Sachin on 17. And
Damn.
out of those 2,600s, India has won 22 times. So every time he scores 100 while chasing, India has an 85% chance of winning the match.
Okay.
These are absurd numbers.
These are insane.
These are insane.
These are actually Curry numbers.
He's a class apart. There's no doubt about that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, every time you look at, every time he comes into bat, he backs himself so much. I mean, looking back at the 2017 Champions Trophy final, people sometimes will say that maybe he chose to bowl first. His decision to bowl first was incorrect, but he backed himself and the Indian batting lineup so much that he was like, you know what, I don't care. Pakistan's going to score 330, 350, we'll chase it down.
That final, like nobody was expecting Pakistan to score 330, firstly.
Yeah.
So when he was backing him up, he was probably looking in his mind to be like, okay, we're going to chase like 250, 270. We could do that easy in our sleep. And well, that's a game. That's a different game altogether. But you're right. He was confident. He put his best foot forward, and he was like, "We can do this. Don't worry about it."
And as Pakistani fans, even though we didn't watch that game, but just looking at the scorecard, I think nobody was satisfied even after scoring 338 because of the batting lineup they had, because of the reputation that Virat Kohli has.
Mm-hmm.
He can chase any score down. So it wasn't until their top 3 were done that we had some sense of hope that we might prevail here.
Yeah, that's true. That Mohammad Amir spell is vital.
It's vital.
Like, yeah, the Pakistani batsman did amazing to put runs on the board, but without that spell, this match could have either gotten away or gotten really close, like dangerously close.
Yeah.
And again, it's Kohli saying, "Don't worry, guys, we got this."
I want to sidetrack for just a bit. Some people say, or they debate, what was more important, Fakhr's 100 or Amir's spell? What's your opinion on
Amir's
this?
spell.
Okay. And what was a better spell, Amir's spell in the final or Shaheen's spell in the T20 World Cup match?
Oh, that's a tough.
Both of them got the top 3 out. Crucial wickets early up front.
I think Amir was a better spell because he got Kohli out twice.
Right.
That's the definitive answer for me. Because firstly, it was a final.
That's the occasion.
Right? The occasion matters. It was a ICC Champions Trophy final, an ICC event that we had never won. Firstly. And then it was Mohammad Amir, who is the favorite. Like whatever he does, he was like out for the game for 5 years, then he came back a hero. So it was just there's a different connection with Amir. He's almost Afridi-esque in his performances, in his clout that he has.
It was a great redemption story for him to come back and win that Lord's Test match, and then that performance against India. I think I don't want to say all his past sins were washed out, but to a certain degree, people started to accept him and love him.
He was redeemed.
More.
Yeah,
he was redeemed.
It was a resurrection of his career for some reason. Then he went off and like blew it up, but that's a whole different thing.
That's a whole different thing.
Coming back to
Kohli, 4th most 50s in a career, 105. Fastest to 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12,000 career runs. The fastest ever.
Yep.
He has the 3rd most player of the match awards, 36. He has the 3rd most player of the series awards, which is 9. He was the ICC ODI Player of the Year for 2012, 17, and 18. He was the ICC.
That's like the MVP award.
Basically. And he was the ICC Men's ODI Cricketer of the Decade.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nobody even close to him. I mean, I'm trying to think of anybody close in performances. Maybe Sangakkara was there, but he didn't play the full decade.
Yeah, he didn't play the whole decade. Plus, he is he as celebrated in T20s as Kohli is?
No.
He has one T20 under his belt, though.
He does. He's
the
won a
World Cup.
trophy.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And looking into Kohli's T20 stats, he has the second most career runs, 3.2K. He has the highest career batting average in T20, which is 52.04. He has the second most 50s in a career, which is 29. He has the second most player of the match awards, 12. And he has the most player of the series awards, 7 in T20Is.
That's insane.
I didn't talk about his test stats because I think this was like the focus of this podcast is more on his white ball career and his performance in ICC tournaments. So I think he's a prolific ODI player.
No doubt
a
about
white
that.
ball player, prolific.
And as Pakistani cricket fans, we can acknowledge greatness here and say that he's one of the greats.
We can. But here's the question. He's a great, but is he the greatest of all time?
See, that's what we're debating here, right?
That's what we're debating.
That's what you're trying to argue here, right? The fact that maybe he may not be.
He may not be the greatest of all time. Because if you think about it in basketball terms, right? When you think of the GOATs, you think of Kobe, you think of MJ, you think of LeBron.
Yep.
And you think of these people's performances in big matches, finals, game sevens.
Yep.
When they come clutch.
Yeah.
Has Virat Kohli been able to do that?
So that's the thing, right? He hasn't won an ICC T20. An ICC event as a captain ever.
As a captain, yes.
Right? So that's glaring. That's like saying, oh, MJ wasn't one of the greatest players of all time, but he didn't get any rings. That's the one thing that Charles Barkley has on him. One of the greatest players literally of all time. Patrick Ewing, one of the greatest players of all time, do not have rings. But does that taint their legacy? It does, man. It does.
And if you talk about
tough.
Kohli's performances in knockout finals of tournaments, he's played 8 matches. He scored only 154 runs at an average of 22 with no hundreds and no 50s.
Those are knockout matches. These are semis and finals.
These are
and quarterfinals.
These are just finals.
Okay.
These are just tournament finals. This could be an Asia Cup final. This could be a World Cup final.
T20 Cup.
A T20 World Cup final. This isn't no ODIs, by the way. Sorry.
Okay, ODIs. So no T20s.
No T20s.
All right.
This is only ODIs.
So you're talking World Cup finals. You're talking Champions Trophy finals. You're talking what's the Asia Cup final?
Asia Cup finals.
Okay. Wow.
So he has averages 22.
So he's choking.
No 50s, no hundreds. If we expand that a bit more to just overall knockout matches and ODIs, he's played 14 matches. He scored 346 runs at a staggering average of 26.6 with no hundreds and only 250s. I'm just putting that out there. These are just stats. I'm not saying anything.
Numbers don't lie.
Numbers don't lie. When you come out to like big matches and you look at performances from your main players, and when you don't see that, you start to ask questions.
Okay, what also happens is, and I've noticed this a lot, is that because Kohli is the spine of the Indian cricket batting lineup, when he fails, the team really has to pick itself up again. And it's hard for me to remember a time when that has happened. When Rohit has failed from the top and then Kohli comes and Kohli has also failed. So let's say there's in under 30 for 2. It's really hard for them to build back up again because their middle order isn't as strong or as tested, which was evident in a lot of the games they played against Pakistan, where Pakistan's bowling lineup gets the first 3 really early and then they're nowhere to be found.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of it. Is it a game of nerves? Because the games that I try to recall off the top of my head, 2015 World Cup semifinal.
Yep.
Mitchell Johnson bounces him out, and India was chasing. 2017 Champions Trophy final, Amir gets him out twice and 2 balls. India were chasing.
Twice and 2. I like that.
2019 World Cup semifinal, Trent Bolt gets him out. India were chasing. What does that say? What are we trying to say here?
There's a lot. It's twofold, I think. One, that Kohli's wicket is a lot more important for India than it is for the opponent team. And secondly, I don't want to say he carries the team, but his presence carries the team. So if he's not on the pitch, then the team's morale is low, which is dangerous because you see that when he's not winning them ICC tournaments and he's not winning them ICC events, how that affects the cricket team all around, right? He's not performing, team's not winning. That's a tough position to be in. People like that, again, in basketball terms, if MJ wasn't performing, when MJ was out for the year and a half that he wanted to play baseball, they made it till the conference semifinals, the Bulls, and they were out. So it's a higher responsibility, but if you are Virat Kohli, you're supposed to take it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think all of that has bottled up as part of his captaincy. I know he has a great captaincy record.
Yeah.
But I guess the other question that we're asking here is he jinxed to win tournaments as captain? He has failed to win any IPL trophies. The ICC events that he has won were all under MS Dhoni's captaincy.
Yeah. The 2011 World Cup comes to mind. Yep. Was he in the 20? No, he was not in the 2007 World Cup.
No, he was not there. Rohit Sharma was there.
Yeah.
But no, he debuted in 2008.
Okay.
So he wasn't part of that
So
team.
a few Asia Cups he's also won.
He's won a few Asia Cups.
But not again in his captaincy. He's won as
not
a
in his
player.
captaincy. He hasn't won any tournament as captain.
So my question comes to you. It's tough to word this because I don't want to be disrespectful to Virat Kohli because he might go down as one of the best players of our generation for sure.
Hands down.
But what has happened to him? What is he shaken up? There's too much pressure? Is he getting old? There's a myriad different answers that we can come towards. But I want to know what you think.
So I want to say that, cricket is a game it's a team game.
Yeah.
11 people play on the field. They contribute. And if half of them contribute in a good manner, that's only when you can cross the line.
Yeah.
So the games that I just recalled of tournament finals or semifinals that India lost, yes, it was him failing, but there's also 10 more people, right?
Yeah,
India always plays with 7 batsmen. Why is it that whenever Rohit fails or Kohli fails, that everybody else fails as well?
Like I said, it's the morality, right? He's not the morality, but he's the team morale. Him going out of the ground early means that the team is sort of helpless and lost. And there have been some exciting players come along the way, like Rishabh Pant, who have tried to sort of grab that mantle. You know, when MJ was leaving, Kobe was there to grab the mantle. I don't see a player in the Indian batting lineup to be like, when Kohli retires in 3 years, I'm going to be the next Kohli. Because when Sachin retired, Kohli was ready. Now, let's say Kohli retires in a few years, 4 years, let's say tops, right? Do you see anyone coming? I don't see anyone in the Indian team right now that's like, I'm ready to pick up the mantle. Rohit Sharma?
But he's also 34.
I mean, that's what I was saying, right? He's not the guy. He's also at not the tail end, but near the end of his career. If this is the apex, he's on this side, but it's starting to drop now. And it's going to be a tough ride for the Indian cricket team for the next 4 years, especially after Kohli goes and his greatness will be sort of questioned. How great was he? Like Sachin's greatness is questioned. If Indian cricket fans want to hear this or not, but I mean, 17 centuries, one chasing, that's not a lot. And isn't there also a stat that every time that Sachin scored a century, India lost?
No,
or something like that.
That's just the perception that's there. But I think India has won a majority of matches where he scores 100.
Okay. So, but he takes his time to score hundreds, and sometimes they were detrimental to the team. Those are sort of the talks, sort of the criticisms towards Sachin's centuries, especially his last 100. Like, they really, really, really needed Sachin to get his 100th 100. I remember that those last year and a half when he was playing cricket. It was tough to watch the cricket team, man.
They had to call the West Indies in India to score the 100.
And it was like, all right, I guess
But
that's happening.
I like that, though. Like, the fact that they celebrated Sachin's career.
Yeah. But like, what I'm saying is, like, are we going to be in a position 4 years from now where Virat Kohli as a captain will not win any ICC tournaments for India, but we're going to be really rooting for him to get the 100 hundreds? Is that it?
Well, so looking at his recent past performances, he really needs to come out of this hole that he's dug for himself.
Yeah.
And show us that the old Virat Kohli is still in there. He needs to just wake him up.
Wait, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You hinted at this in the beginning of the pod, but so the announcement from the Indian Cricket Board was that, what was the announcement? They revoked him of all the red ball cricket or all white ball cricket captaincy, or both. I forget.
So the next thing that I was going to get into was the captaincy. Actually.
Yeah.
So Virat Kohli, announced that he would step down from the T20I captaincy after the 2021 T20 World Cup.
Yeah.
That was the announcement. And what transpired was that the BCCI, they stripped him away from his ODI captaincy as well. That was not planned. That was not communicated. He only heard of that from maybe the press or just the board.
Rumors,
last minute. And I mean, so let's look at his captaincy record, okay? His ODI captaincy record, he's played 95 matches as a captain. He has won 65 matches out of 95 with a win percent of 68.4%.
That's not
which
bad.
I think is incredible.
That's not bad at all.
But here are some highlights. He lost the 2017 Champions League final. He lost the 2019 World Cup semifinal.
Yeah.
These are two huge events, right? I understand and I give respect that yes, they did reach to the finals of the Champions Trophy. They did reach to the semifinal of the World Cup. But if you're not able to cross that finish line, this brings up questions in your captaincy.
Because it's the same thing that happens to Kane Williamson. Arguably one of the greatest of all times as well. No ICC events under his name. He's more. I feel more bad for Kane Williamson, just because he's reached way more finals than Kohli has.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they did win the World Test Championship, but yeah, no white ball trophy.
No white ball trophy. I'm talking about the white ball trophy events. None of them, and he's reached a lot of finals, my guy.
Yeah,
he was in a final just recently.
2015 World Cup final, 2019 World Cup final, 2021 T20 World Cup final, and was not able to.
Wasn't he also in the 2017 semifinals?
Yeah,
the Champions Trophy semifinal. There's a lot of finals that they've seen, but they haven't gone through, and it's the same thing. Why not?
Is New Zealand the new chokers?
New?
Okay, yeah, they are, but like
they've always choked.
We always associate South Africa with being the chokers, right?
But South Africa has been so mediocre in the past few years that they haven't really even put up a contest. Per se. They've had some shining stars here and there, but New Zealand is the one that everybody was looking at like, yeah, when are they going to win, man? It's been time.
Yeah, they always come up like as underdogs in tournaments, and then they end up going to the semis or the finals, which nobody even gives them a chance.
Yeah, I was really rooting for, after Pakistan got knocked out, I was like, I think New Zealand should win this, but they were never in it.
Yeah. Also, Australia is just ruthless in
knockouts,
knockout matches.
100%. So that's the thing. I'm glad you mentioned Australia, because I feel like that's the ruthlessness that
the
Kohli's
killer mindset.
Team, it's the Mamba mentality, man. That's the thing that maybe Kohli has, but his team does not.
Yeah.
Right? And how great is a player if he doesn't make other players greater?
Yeah. I mean, one credit that I will give to him as a captain, that he started this tradition of winning series, winning matches abroad.
Yeah.
Like they beat Australia and Australia. They tied the series in England. They've won ODI series abroad in Sena country, which is something unheard of in the past.
Explain Sena.
South Africa, England, New Zealand, and Australia.
Yeah. Okay.
So winning series in these countries was unheard of in the past, but Virat Kohli kind of changed this mindset. And another credit that we need to give him is he brought this concept of fitness in cricket.
Oh, yeah. I think he brought it in all of cricket.
All of cricket. Nobody used to talk about it.
Nobody had a personal trainer.
Nobody. Like the concept of fitness in Pakistan was you go to the ground and
you run a few laps.
You run a few laps at the ground, like 4 or 5 laps, and they're like, okay, you're fit.
Yeah.
So to bring that, to see his diet, to see how he runs on the field.
Like without a doubt, he definitely changed the game. He brought a lot of class, a lot of style in the game. Something that Imran Khan used to also bring to the game, where just his gravitas was so attractive. The aura, basically, that people were tempted to watch. And you cannot take your eyes off when Virat Kohli is batting. But the whole point is, in the past 2 years, he hasn't been batting the way he used to.
Yeah.
How will he get over this slump, though?
Yeah, that's what I was going to get into next. Before we get into that, I just wanted to talk about his T20I captaincy. 50 matches, he's captained India. India's won 30 matches, 60% win percentage.
Pretty good.
But India got knocked out of the group stages of the 2021 T20 World Cup.
Courtesy Pakistan.
Courtesy Pakistan, courtesy New Zealand, courtesy just an Indian team that never showed up.
Deflated Indian team.
Yeah.
Very deflated.
So, I mean, did the BCCI finally decide that maybe Virat Kohli does not have what it takes to win tournaments as captain. Is that why? Is that really why he got stripped away of captaincy? And it was given to Rohit Sharma, who has a far better record as Indian captain. I think he's won 5 or 6 IPLs and a majority of them as captain.
Has he? You also forgot the point where Virat Kohli has not won an IPL as a captain.
He's 3 runner-ups, but no championships.
I think, okay, the legacy of Virat Kohli is so strong that the BCCI sort of was reactionary. All right. So the way that they exited the 2021 T20 World Cup was shocking, to say the least. So yes, they had to be reactionary. They had to pull some plugs. It's like how Man U had like one of the worst records starting this season, and they had to get Ole out. They tried their best to keep him there, but he was just not having it. And after Ole was out, they've sort of turned things around.
And the captain in cricket he's
equivalent
like to the manager.
Yeah, he's like the manager of the team. Yeah, and so having a change of face up in the head office of the team was reactionary. I don't think it was justified though. Okay, yes, Virat Kohli has had a slump of 2 years, but you have to sort of take it into context of how he lost the semifinals and how he lost the finals, and like you said, he did make it to the knockouts multiple times. It's just that he's not been unlucky. So he's not been lucky. So what does that tell you about his team, right?
Yeah.
So if you change, it's still going to be the same team, even if you put Rohit on the top. My whole point is that, long-windedly, but he should have stayed another series, another tournament. The T20 World Cup is next year, man. It's in less than 11 months. Keep him on. What's the problem? What do you think about that?
I just think how the BCCI decided like what their future
Also,
plans
the way
are.
they did it wasn't cool.
It wasn't cool. Virat Kohli deserves more respect. He deserves a better send off as captain. Just how everything transpired, it reminded me of almost how the PCB works.
Yeah. Well, it's the same. It's the same kind of people.
We're the same people.
So that's why.
But like in terms of professionalism, it just wasn't the right way. And I heard Virat Kohli's press conference after that announcement, and he was dejected. He was sad. He seemed hurt, as he should be. But yeah, from the BCCI's point of view, they announced Rohit because they were looking forward to the next ICC event, which was the World Cup in Australia, and then the 50-over World Cup in India. So that's what they were looking for. They want to win ICC events. India hasn't won an ICC event since 2013,
and that was the Champions Trophy.
It's been 9 years almost.
Yeah.
So it's about time, man. Like that they've won an ICC event.
So do you think the shakeup on the BCCI did is good for the Indian cricket team? That's what I'm trying to ask.
I think so. I mean, if they think that this guy Virat Kohli is jinxed to win ICC tournaments, and if changing the captaincy is the way to do it, yeah, absolutely, sure, go ahead.
Do you think, because Virat Kohli is still captain of the
test team,
so let's say he wins the test championship, does that sort of solidify him further, or is that still red ball, and red ball is not really that watched, and he hasn't won a white ball tournament? Because I don't think he's going to ever get back his captaincy back, unless Rohit gets injured, right?
No, absolutely not. Even if Rohit gets injured, they might get the vice captain, whoever the vice captain they announced, to be the captain. But I think this might even be a blessing in disguise for Virat Kohli, just because now that he's not captain, he can focus purely on his batting.
I'd love to see how he handles it. Because this is a clash of egos a little bit. It has to be.
It is.
It has to be.
It absolutely is. There's always just been like rumors around Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli not getting along that much.
Even though they played together since the Under-19 World Cup.
Since so long.
Yeah.
They've played
almost 2
all
decades.
of their career together.
Yeah.
And they've had so many great partnerships. But they're like two huge figures.
Yeah.
In one dressing room.
It's like Shaq and Kobe.
I remember when Sachin was asked who would break his record of 100 hundreds, he pointed to Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli.
Mm-hmm.
They were in the same room. Rohit, I think, is still pretty far off. But Kohli, will he able to do it? It seems like a far-fetched idea, but again, we're talking about Virat Kohli. He can change things around. But just his performances in the last 2 years are surprising. They're shocking. If I share the stats with you, he's played combined Test, ODI, T20s, 45 matches, 52 innings. He scored 1,753 runs at an average of 37.3 with no hundreds. And 17 50s. He's also had 5 ducks this year, which is the most ducks he's ever had in a single calendar year.
That's so normal. And it's not super, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't associate those kind of numbers with VK. It's very mediocre. Normal is the word that came to my head. It's casual. And it's tough. I wonder if he's going through like a mental blockade. Like I said, Spider-Man 2, he loses his powers. Has he lost his powers? Is he in his head too much? I mean, he does do a lot of personal training. I wonder if some personal mental health clarity would also help. Just doesn't have to be psychotherapy. There's sports therapy, right?
Yeah.
Ted Lasso, great example. Again, fiction, but they get like a therapist in there and that really motivates the team. I wonder if he needs something like that. Because when you are one of the greatest of all times, there is a lot of mental pressure, man. You are battling yourself in here, nobody else.
And when you're India's best, you are basically
they make you a god.
Yeah. I mean, 1.2 billion people are relying on you. They're counting on you.
That has
to go out there, perform.
Man, that has to get into your head, man. That has to. Because
2.4 billion eyeballs on you while you're playing.
Quick math. Yeah, man, that has to get to your head. And the thing is, because of nationalism and because of all these things, we're like even MJ, if he lost, right? It was Chicago that he disappointed, and maybe some fans from out of state. But when you lose like an ICC event, you're not disappointing Chicago. You're disappointing like 100 Chicagos at the same time, because that's how many people there are in India.
Yeah. So I mean, it has to be alarming when you say that it's been to this day 765 days since he scored his last 100.
Quick maths again.
It's over 1,700 runs in the last 2 years. But for a reference, he scored on average over 2,500 runs for the past 5 years.
There we go.
More or less. In 2017 and 18, he scored 11 centuries each in that year.
Yeah.
And he scored no hundreds in the last 2 years. So it's alarming. I'm concerned. I really don't know what's going to happen. He's playing a series versus South Africa next. Tough conditions. He has scored 100 there before.
He's playing in South Africa.
He's playing in South Africa versus South Africa. Rabada, Ngidi, Dwayne Olivier, Keshav Maharaj beating South Africa or scoring hundreds in South Africa versus South Africa. It's difficult.
It's tough.
It's tough.
They're a formidable side, even if they haven't found their stride in a while. They're still South Africa, man. They're still one of the best. And yeah, I wonder how it goes. You know what it is? Because we have Babar Azam now, it feels like we're kind of at a position where we can say things like, I wish Kohli the best. And it's not coming from a place of like malice or from a place of like, oh, we're higher now because our main guy is at its peak and your main guy is kind of like on his downfall. But I genuinely, honestly, it's like, I don't want his latter career to be what MJ's career was when he came back out of retirement. Right? Even though he was still putting up numbers, man, he was still averaging like 20, 21 points a game. That's not MJ. MJ averages 32, 33 a game. And that's the thing with Virat Kohli. Like you said, 5 years, 2,500 runs on average, 11 centuries a year, to suddenly nothing. That's tough, man. That's tough.
I know he hasn't played as many matches as he did in the past 4 or 5 years.
Sure, yeah.
He's taken breaks because for just
family reasons too.
His body. He had a kid, so there's a lot going on. But at the same time, just the reputation that Virat Kohli has, you expect that every time he does show up, he's at his best. And we saw glimpses of that. He scored a great 50 against Pakistan in a high pressure match after India's top order flopped.
Yeah.
So I think he's still there. Just got to find him. Because he has to find his inner self, bring that out of him.
Man, I wish he does. Because you know what? Watching Kohli, it's like, again, not to compare him to Bobby, because that's how the whole other podcast that we also should do eventually. But comparing Bobby to VK, when Bobby bats, you watch. And when
You
VK
watch.
bats, you watch as well, man. Like, cause he's he's so elegant and he's so easy on the eyes that I kind of miss it. I'm not gonna lie.
I think it's Virat Kohli needs to be back at its best, and because that's the ultimate betterment for cricket.
Yeah, yeah. He's a brand ambassador of the game.
Cricket does well when Virat Kohli does well.
True.
And I wish him the best in his upcoming series.
I just want to say, great research on this pod, man. Like this is a lot. This is like what's the name?
This is the Colin Samir breakdown.
The Collins of your breakdown of Virat Kohli. Yeah, I mean the numbers you pulled out, shocking they were, at least to say, but kind of reaffirming to know that even though Virat Kohli is kind of on his slump and he's kind of mediocre, he's still putting up okay numbers, 1,700 a year. That's not bad.
It's not bad.
I would, like, you know, if Umar Akmal did that, we would be like, bro, Umar Akmal is having a breakout year.
I can't believe you mentioned Virat Kohli and Umar Akmal in the same
I
breath.
had to. I had
In
to.
the same
man.
breath.
I had to. Like, if Umar Akmal puts up 1,700 runs a year, you're not telling me that's a breakout year for UK?
Oh man, I don't know what to say. I think if you combine all of Akmal brothers, all of Ahmed Shahzad's hundreds
my
and runs,
I said UK, you said Ahmed Shahzad. That's even worse.
even in domestic, they don't even add up. They don't come close to Virat Kohli's numbers.
Yeah. Well, I want to leave this podcast on a high. And by that, I mean, I really do hope Virat Kohli finds his stride in 2022. Because, like you said, a good Virat Kohli means a good chance that cricket is exported more into the world.
I agree. Closing thoughts for me as well. I'm a huge fan of Virat Kohli, the game of cricket, his batting. I feel honored and privileged every time that I see him bat on TV. And hopefully one day I get to see him bat in live in person.
Yeah, and if the Indian fans don't buy out all the tickets, we might one day.
We might.
Totally.
We might.
Thank you guys for sticking around to the end of the pod. If you guys have Virat Kohli fans, let us know. If you guys have any counter opinions, counter debates, I'm pretty sure Bashaar will love to debate you in the comment section
See
below.
me in the comment section. Catch me there.
If you guys are listening to us on Spotify, don't forget to rate us. Apple Music, don't forget to rate us. This really helps. Everybody who rated us on Spotify, thank you very much. Our ratings are finally up. Did you see that?
I did see that. Thank you so much, everyone.
And all 11, 12 of you that did that immediately. We really appreciate that. We will see you guys very, very soon. And if you guys have any other cricketing opinions, do let us know. You can find us on our respective Instagrams and the podcast Instagram as well. And with that said, I am Nazar, and I hope Virat Kohli comes back as the beast that he is.
Yeah, same here. Bashaar signing out. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.